Hi. Apologies are difficult, and a lot of people get them wrong or else don't do them at all because they don't know how. So here's a 6-step process that I came up with for how to give a genuine, sincere, personal apology. Here we go. The first step in apologizing is to say what you did wrong. Use a simple declarative sentence starting with I. Be specific and be concrete. Don't try to give context or to explain why you did what you did. In an apology, as in the confessional, there's no room for the word because. Don't try to explain or excuse what led you to do what you did. Simply state what you did, I followed by a verb. Don't try to apologize for a vague situation. Don't say, I'm sorry things have gotten so bad, or it's a shame that this is so hurtful for both of us. That's not what you're doing here. What you're doing is to reflect upon and say out loud the specific action that you are apologizing for. If you don't know what that is, or you're not clear about it in your mind, I think you're not ready to apologize. You need to take more time to think things over. You might say, for example, I told an offensive joke at the office party last night, or I forgot to pick up our son from soccer practice. Step 2 is to say what harm was caused by your action. You're apologizing because something you've done or failed to do has damaged a relationship that's important to you, and an apology is one step in trying to heal that relationship. So it's important to be clear about how the other person was harmed by what you did. Describe the effects of what you did. You can start by saying, I realized that by doing this, I had whatever effect, and stick to the facts. Again, don't try to contextualize, don't try to excuse or justify yourself. Don't talk about harm to you, yourself, from the same situation or about your feelings. That's not the place for those things in an apology. That can come later in a different context. For example, I might continue, I realized that by telling that joke, I embarrassed you in front of your boss. Or I realized that when I didn't pick up David at soccer practice, I made you worry for his safety. Step 3 is to say that what you did was wrong, that you shouldn't have done it. Admit that you did the wrong thing, acknowledge that you made a bad choice, and I think it's important to use the language of being wrong or mistaken here. Don't simply say that it looks bad or it's an unfortunate situation. Don't try to group your mistake in with other people's mistakes, or make everything subjective. Don't say, I realize you feel that I did something wrong. This is probably the step at which a lawyer, if he was at your elbow, would interrupt you and tell you not to admit this. I'm assuming that you're not in a situation where legal counsel would prevent you from giving a genuine apology. So, for example, I would say, I should not have told that joke, and I was wrong not to make picking up David a higher priority. One of the things you're doing in steps 1 through 3 is showing the other person that you have taken the time and the mental energy to reflect upon what you've done and to identify specifically what it was that was objectionable and wrong and how it injured the other person, and that you've come to the conclusion that you were mistaken and that you're willing to admit that you were mistaken as part of your apology. I think that goes a good way towards building the kind of goodwill that's necessary for the other person to accept your apology, if she chooses to do so. After steps 1 through 3, you're ready to say you're sorry. And that's what you do. You just say, I'm sorry. You should repeat the specific thing that you're sorry for, just to be absolutely clear. There's nothing else to do at this point. Don't merely express regret. Don't just say that you would do it differently now. Both of those, I think, are apology substitutes. Those are things that executives or people acting on legal advice might do in place of giving a genuine, sincere, personal apology. Don't say that you feel bad about it. As in step 2, your feelings are not necessarily relevant to the apology that you're giving. So for my examples, I would say, I'm sorry I told that joke, and I'm sorry I didn't pick him up after practice. Step 5. If appropriate, say how you'll try to fix the situation. This is not always possible because some injuries are impossible to fix or to redress, But this is the place where, having said you're sorry, you should focus on the future. You should propose a remedy, if one's possible, or a way of preventing something and doing better in the future. Again, try to be as specific and concrete and focused upon your decisions and your actions as you can be. The more you try to bring in other people or to make your behavior dependent upon what other people choose to do or say, the less you're doing the job you need to do here in this part of the apology. Don't say there's nothing you can do. Don't leave the future up to the other person. Don't tell them, well, it's up to you to decide what happens next. And don't simply blame it on the way that you're unable to change. I think it's important that you express a willingness to change what you can change and show that you've reflected on that as part of your preparation for the apology. In my examples, I would say, I will offer to apologize to your boss and to your coworkers if you want me to. Or, I will make sure to attend the full practice from now on, not to leave and plan to come back. And step 6 is to ask for forgiveness. And this involves vulnerability, as some of the earlier parts did as well. Say, please forgive me, and then wait to see if they say yes or no. Absolutely do not assume that you are already forgiven or that you are entitled to forgiveness. Presuming upon somebody's forgiveness or acceptance of your apology is a very serious error. And don't judge the other person's reaction. To ask the person yes or no, will you please forgive me, is to leave open the possibility that they might answer yes or no. They might say, I don't forgive you, or I'm not ready to forgive you yet. You need to be able to accept that and not work from a pre-planned script where you say you're sorry and they say that everything's okay. So, for example, very simple, please forgive me. Will you forgive me? So that's my 6-step process for how to give a genuine, sincere, personal apology. I hope you find it helpful. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.